Hi everybody. So this is my first time I even using a filter, believe it or not. And I'm gonna be honest why I have used filters on TikTok when I actually discovered them. You know, when I was a kid, I hated pictures. My mom and my sister loved taking pictures. And I was not pretty. I was not a cute kid as a kid. I mean, I had buck teeth. I had a birthmark under my nose I was being teased about. And there was just a lot of things that I was very insecure about starting off. And so pictures were not a thing to me. You know, if anybody was on Facebook as my friends, at first it was only about my kids, maybe occasional pictures of me here and there. But then when I got divorced and I found those filters, I started feeling a little more secure, not so insecure about my looks. You know, and it's not that I don't think I'm pretty. I think I'm pretty in person. But I don't think I exude that beauty through videos or pictures. And now, you know, that I know, you know, I know myself a little better going through this. I realized that the reason I was using filters were because it reminded me of my dad. I look like my dad. I have his nose. I have his mouth. And I think filters just kind of washed those features away from me, and I felt better. And so part of growing is realizing that I should love myself no matter what I look like. And so that's part of growing and self-reflecting on myself. And just so you guys know, you know, because I'm still dealing with trauma, I'm not on any kind of medication right now. I'm not on any ADHD medicine. I eventually will. I did an MRI, and now I'm going to be psychology test just to make sure. You know, the doctor feels strongly that I have it, but now he has to prove it scientifically. So we'll see. But, you know, the good thing is that you guys, you know, when I talk, I might jump from one thing to the next, just my brain, the way it thinks. I've always thought very differently about everything, which is weird, but, you know, politics, religion. One day I'll touch those topics with you guys, but so bear with me if I go from one thing to the next. It's just my brain, just things pop up and I kind of have to say it, I guess. But you know, again, you see, like I'll start talking and I forget what I'm talking about. It's weird. And then I bring myself back, and you know, it's funny because all my friends used to call me Dory. And now I know why, because I had so many things in my brain and so many thoughts and so many feelings that I guess Dory came out because I couldn't remember the little things, the little details, you know, in my life. And so I'm going to be excited to see when I start taking the medications. Maybe you guys can see if I changed, you know, do you see a difference? Do you think, you know, when I see students. And, you know, my best friend and I, when we talk, you know, we make connections together. And one of the things that we talked about was, you know, personally, I have seen kids grow from not taking medication for ADHD to medication and see like day and night. Like one kid was like, took the FAST test at the beginning of the year, got a 1, which is a poor score, the worst score. And then took medication, got a 5, the highest score. So it does work, you know, and that's why right now, like my thoughts are everywhere. Like I have so many ideas, so many things I want to do, but I just can't focus on anything because I'm all over the place. So that's basically what I wanted to tell you. But, you know, I do want to talk a little bit about my story. You know, it's going to be many parts because honestly, like I said, it's a long story. And the only way I know how to tell it is probably from the beginning, because when I first started coming out with my story, I was all over the place. I would start with my middle school years and then my adult years, and I was just really not focused on what I wanted to say. And maybe I'm not still there, but I know, you know, once I start getting the ball rolling, I know I'll get there. So what I decided was, when I told my oldest son, I was very nervous because he's my baby, you know. He's an empath like me. He's strong, but you know, I know he deals with information. He has processing information issues. So I know when I speak to him, I have to speak slower you know, and also in order in a sense so that he could make those connections himself. So I'm going to start with Cuba. You know, I told in my first video about my parents, they're Cuban. And so my mom was married prior to meeting my father. She got married at 19 years old. Prior to being married, she had a boyfriend named Pablo that she was in love with. It was her first boyfriend. And Pablo left Cuba, also exited Cuba, and they had to break up. But my mom was telling me that they still loved each other. And when he moved to New York, they would correspond back and forth. But eventually, you know, Pablo asked my mom to move to New York. But my mom was an only child. She had elderly parents, my grandparents, Fina and Jose. Manuel was, they were older when they got married in Cuba. Normally that's not something that, you know, old traditional Cubans do. They usually marry very early and have kids early. But my grandmother was probably closer to her 30s, and my grandfather was 10 years older. So definitely were older. So by the time my mom was leaving Cuba in her 20s, late 20s, my grandparents were already elderly, so she had to be there for them. And so when Pablo asked her to move, my mom told him no, to move on, that she loved him, but she had to stay for her parents. And so, you know, I really feel for my mom, it's like a fork in the road. In a way, I wish she would have left and went to New York. Apparently Pablo became something big, my mom's dad, like an artist. I don't know his last name, but maybe she would remember if I asked her. But, you know, that's where my mom, unfortunately, was traumatized prior to meeting Pablo, her first boyfriend. Her uncle, my grandmother's brother, was abusing her from the age of 8 to pretty much until she got married at 19. So my mom already came into relationships with trauma, okay? And this is where I think it's generational trauma. If you don't fix it, your kids are going to suffer the same, because our actions, our feelings, and how we live our lives does affect our children, you know. And that's why I'm being very strong and trying to fix myself, even though my kids may not understand. You know, I try not to cry in front of them. I'm really strong in that way because I've been holding it in for a long time. But when I'm alone is when I deal with my feelings. And, you know, I know my kids right now might think mommy's just, you know, they know I'm going through it, but just to understand the whole concept of what I'm trying to do for myself, as far as like getting better and a happy place so I could be happy for them and really be present in their lives. Because the reality is I haven't been present in my life for the last 51 years. You know, I have traveled, I have lived out of the country. I've seen beautiful places. I've been around a lot of money and wealth, but nothing has ever made me happy. No home. I mean, I live in a gorgeous home, and I could tell you I can't wait to get out of here because I'm just not happy. Material things have never really, other than clothes, I love clothes. But what I'm saying is that I really don't find pleasure in money. Money to me is a means to an end. Obviously, we need it to survive, and I'm totally aware of that. But does it fulfill you? No, because even with money, you still find ways to fill in that hole that you have in your heart. And me, I filled it with relationships and clothes. And just filling my home with things just to fill that hole. But as I'm getting better and healing, I'm realizing I don't need all this stuff. I'm getting rid of everything in my house, and just focusing on the basics, what normally we should do, you know. And I have, 20,000 cups, and that's a hyperbole, by the way, but that many things, and we only use probably 3 or 4 of them, in our lives. So it's like just minimizing and starting over. That's what I'm doing. So as far as my mom, like I said, she left Pablo, and then she met her first husband, Sergio, which was my half-sister, Jeanette Corhill, her father. And so I'm gonna do my part 2, talking more about when she met Sergio, her first husband, my mom, okay? Well, it was nice talking to you guys today, and I really hope you enjoy your Tuesday. It's Tuesday today, right? Anyways, take care, bye.